It starts with getting clarity on what the hell the strategy is in the game you're trying to play and how to win that game and whether the game you're playing is the game you should be playing. Because if you don't have an advantage, you're not going to win. And if you don't know what your advantage is, you better figure it out. And if you figure it out, but it's incongruent to what you can really deliver, it's going to be inauthentic and you're going to blow up. So I think it's getting your strategy clear, because most people don't have a strategy. And if you think about it, most people, I mean, we've taught so many things. One of the things we taught, which is a dyad, is how do you make irresistible offers and unbeatable propositions? And the reason we went there is if you look at most commodity generic types of competitors, they're making beatable propositions and resistible offers, Bill.
This is gonna be amazing. You got a lot of people on this call today.
I think the biggest miss that people make in terms of selling it.
And that's what a good marketing message, good branding does.
How does somebody do something big in a very short period of time?
Over the course of my career, about every 6 months, I would uncover a different distinction. I told you about the 3 ways. There's advanced 3 ways, 9 drivers, 12 strategy pillars. We've taken it to rules for relevancy, sunk cost marketing, soft skills that have high levers. And I realized, I asked myself, because each one of these, by the way, can give you exponential profit, geometric or exponential profit increases, one category. But I said, geez, I got 35 categories. What's geometry on geometry? Because I always wondered that, but I was too lazy to look it up. I looked it up, and mathematically, any of you watching who are mathematicians, statistical PhDs, mathematically, it is a given, Bill and everybody else. There are 5, not 1, 5 gradients of performance enhancement above and beyond exponentiation. Heptation, hexation, pentation, octation, I can't remember the other tation, and just zeros you can't even calculate. But the point is, if you mathematically can take performance well above exponential, you should never allow anything you do, at least on the revenue side and on every side, because there's the same relevant methodology. I don't have it, but other people do in operations, etc. You should never operate in the incremental zone at the same time effort or less or capital can get you operating in the exponential zone. That sounds theoretical, but it's very doable anyhow.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a huge point and I'm curious, I'm going to ask you another question back to my original question. What is the highest value action in a business? And as I'm listening to you, would you say that it's business model design?
I would probably say it starts with getting clarity on what the hell the strategy is in the game you're trying to play and how to win that game and whether the game you're playing is the game you should be playing. Because if you don't have an advantage, you're not going to win. And if you don't know what your advantage is, you better figure it out. And if you figure it out, but it's incongruent to what you can really deliver, it's going to be inauthentic and you're going to blow up. So I think it's getting your strategy clear, because most people don't have a strategy. And if you think about it, most people, I mean, we've taught so many things. One of the things we taught, which is a dyad, is how do you make irresistible offers and unbeatable propositions? And the reason we went there is if you look at most commodity generic types of competitors, they're making beatable propositions and resistible offers, Bill. But I think it starts with strategy. And strategy, then you go business model, then you go revenue approach, then you go value creation, then you go preemptive positioning. I mean, I can go down a hierarchy.
Yeah. So let's do that, because this is huge. So strategy, business model, then what was next, would you say?
I don't remember what I said, but it's probably either I said value creation.
Yep.
And then you got to figure the access vehicles you're going to use. And you got to figure what I call preemptive advantage, which is it's sort of value creation, but it's how to articulate or convey it in a way where you are seen as the only viable source that provides it, the most trusted. And so it goes through a hierarchy, and most people don't even think at that level, because unfortunately, Bill, the majority of experts today that see, and again, I'm not knocking them because they have really interesting pieces of the puzzle, but they're purveying one trick pony tactics and ascribing the fact that that tactic is going to build an enduring, vibrant, sustainable, and defendable business, and it won't, can't. And the reason it can't is that if I have a breakthrough tactic and I teach it to a few people, you have advantage. But if I'm a tactic salesman or woman, I don't want to sell 10 or 20, I want to sell 20 million people. So all of a sudden that advantage gets marginalized because it becomes standard operating procedure because everyone's doing it. Now you need a new tactic. That's not where you create great success. You understand how to grow a business preeminently, preemptively, geometrically, and with focus on bottom line, not top. Everybody, Bill, and again, I'm not knocking it. You may have people on it. You may do it. They take 10X moonshot. And what people don't understand is when you go for a 10X top line moonshot, first of all, if it's technologically driven, you better figure out the right moonshot. You better figure out the right experts. You better figure out the right technology, the right APIs. It's going to take longer, cost more, not perform the way you want when it's theoretically done. You're going to have to course correct it, improve it. When it is all the way through, you're going to have to fund it either with cash flow, borrowing, or dilution. And when it finally is ready, if you haven't missed your window, you're going to have to either retrain everybody or replace everybody. I always say, why don't you first try to get a 10X bottom line because it's easier, faster, safer, doesn't cost anything. And that cash flow can fund any of the top line stuff you're after. We just did yesterday. I'm not letting you talk, but I want to get thoughts in that'll be provocative. Yesterday, I did an interview with a very good friend of mine. He's the world leader in constraint theory. He's the ultimate decision scientist, and they teach large corporations how to turn their top line into their bottom line in 4 years or less. And people think it's impossible. And his big question is, it's impossible unless, what has to happen to make it possible? And he shows all kinds of variables like I'm talking about that change the bottom line performance. And I'm not really showing analytic measurement, but I hope this is helping people rethink and flip a little bit their business worldview.
Yeah, absolutely. So 10X top line versus 10X bottom line is a huge insight. Another big insight is you said, the highest value thing, which I didn't know you were going to say this, is you said knowing the game you're playing / strategy, but then you said something interesting, combining the strategy with what you can profitably deliver on, right? So 10X top line, for example, which a lot of people pound their chest and go for, can actually, cause lower profits if you can't reasonably deliver on 10X top line initiatives.
Yeah. And also the same thing with how you position your business, product, service, practice to the market. If you really can't deliver on the promise and you're totally incongruent, it's going to be the most rapid path to ruination. Also, if you're trying to compete with everybody and be all things to everybody, as opposed to considering finding a niche, it's different. We have a guy on one of our programs, and you have a lot of attorneys, and we have two. One guy just does dog bites. That's all he does. And he's in a very large market where he's got, dozens and dozens of dog bite cases it was an accident. Another guy just does motorcycles. Another guy, do you want to be everything and say, hey, if you're a PI attorney, if you're injured, come to me, I can do anything. I have a former client who's a top Beverly Hills plastic surgeon. And long ago, he started only doing above the neck because he could do everything. But he said, I'm masterful, because he was in the army in Korea, and he only did, facial type things. Then he realized that he could do anything in the face, but his highest and best use was doing nose jobs or repairing bad nose jobs, because a complete facial was maybe 25 grand, but took all day. Whereas a nose job, he could do 5 or 10 of them in a day at 10 grand a piece. And if you look at the economics, again, depends on what you love also. I can exacerbate everybody because there's different factors depending on whether you're trying to build a significant business or whether you're just trying to service an enjoyable lifestyle.
I have a I'm very excited to hear the answer to your question here, because this is a perfect segue into the question I had originally. You're talking about the importance of niching down, right? And I want to, when you study businesses that do, 10, 20 plus million a year in revenue, you notice there's two models to expand. A is have one industry vertical and provide many services to that vertical. The other option, when you see companies doing 10, 20 million plus, is they'll service many verticals with a narrow technical specialty. So which of those two models do you think is smarter in 2021 to consider?
The one that works. So what people don't realize is people make the mistake, Bill, of thinking they have to go all in on a commitment that is conjecture based. If you don't have enough sophistication to evaluate all the impending and all the affecting factors, forces, and elements that are going to impact it, you should experiment first. See if there's interest. Don't commit, the fate of your business until you see if the market will validate. I mean, everyone goes, what should I do, this or do that? You should do that which works best. And I live in a world of variability. I can give people a staggering and dizzying headache telling them, you do this one way, it's going to produce X. You do it another way, it's going to produce 10X. You go after this market one way, nobody responds. You go after another, everybody responds. And you can pre-validate for a much less risk of not just capital, but of opportunity cost, because opportunity cost, resource, attention, you only have a finite amount of resources to leverage up. And we're all about levers, Bill. I didn't say this. If you think about your life, our personal life, at home, relationships, our house, apartment, condo, hobbies, they are enhanced and supported by levers and fulcrums. Brooms, screwdrivers, light switches, cranks for windows, car jacks, the buttons on to open the car door, pop-top cans. But what we don't realize is we have right now, pardon my voice, we've always had, excuse me, an enormous spectrum of levers that are always available that we can avail ourselves of. We just don't even know they exist. There's all these things going on. If you think about being more nuclear, and you use that word, I think, and taking it to more granularity, when you understand the levers, the power, and you work on the geometry of your business, not the incrementalism sort of your business. I have a phrase, either you work harder for your business or you get your business to work harder for you. It's that simple. Either you're in control or you're being controlled. And if you think about this, I'm giving you some big, broad macro philosophy, but this is what I do, and it might help people. And obviously, they should know, not that I'm trying to sell myself, but everything I talk about, you can go very deep with very specific implementation elements and granularity and specifics. But if you think about our lives, I believe 2% of what happens in a life or a business are acts of God, COVID, economic things you can't control. 98% are the result of either actions you take or don't take, decisions you make or don't make, forces, factors, elements that are immutable that you either recognize and harness or you don't recognize and you let whipsaw you. And when you understand that, what it really means is you have a lot more control. And volatility and turmoil and dramatic rapid change is either your enemy or your opportunity. And it's all a function of the mindset that you adapt.